Hey guys, I'm gonna be vlogging today about something that's happened to me in the past, and I'm sorry that I have the camera pointed outside and not toward me or anything like that, but I won't be doing a reveal yet. And I am an amateur to YouTube and stuff like that because this is my first time having my own channel and actually make my own videos, so just bear with me. I'm still learning. And if also I repeat certain words, I tend to do that a lot. My bad. I apologize in advance. Anyway, moving on with the video. Today I will be talking about the time that I almost got kidnapped. I want to say it was about 15, 16. I already had been told by cops to, you know, stop breaking curfew and you know, go home and things like that and stop being out late. And of course, as a young teenager, I did not listen. And I had been talking to this great, intelligent guy that I was so interested in anyway. And my mom didn't allow me to use her phone after certain hours, of course. Late at night, I couldn't use her phone. So as soon as she went to bed, I decided to go walking down the street. There was like a little convenience store, a little Mexican restaurant, and at that Mexican restaurant had a payphone, and at the convenience store it had two payphones. But the one at the convenience store I didn't like to use because those payphones were like 25 cents for like 15 minutes, versus at the Mexican restaurant it had a payphone that was only 25 cents, I think, for the whole call. And I don't know why the payphones were like that. It was two different payphones, two different companies. But yeah, I chose that one because I would talk a lot. So anyway, I want to say I took off around 9 or 10. And I was talking on the phone, having a great conversation with this guy. I'm sorry, I was talking on the payphone at the Mexican restaurant. And all of a sudden, while I'm talking to this guy, this man in this Bronco truck that I will never forget pulled up in the parking lot, because there was like a parking lot where the Mexican restaurant was at, of course. And he doesn't get out. He sits there and in his vehicle, but he takes off his engine and everything, and he's just staring at me. And I start to freak out because, of course, it's just me and this man, nobody else. The Mexican restaurant was already closed. Convenience store was closing, I think, at that time. And so, yeah, it was just basically me and him there. And I knew I should have gotten off the phone, but I didn't. So, yeah, I just was like, nah, I just won't make eye contact with this guy. And yeah, he's just creepy. So he didn't stay there very long. He did take off, and I just brushed it off. I thought he was never going to come back. Wrong. I stayed there later, and I want to say around midnight, this man came back, and he had a cup of coffee in his hand. I guess he had nothing better to do, to be honest with you. But he came back, and he was just staring at me. And this time, the guy had the nerve, or I should say the man, because he looked to be about in his 40s. I want to say the youngest, anywhere from 40s to 50s. He came out of his vehicle, and where this little Mexican restaurant and payphone was like a flower bed. And so what happened is I sat down on the flower bed, and this man sat next to me. And when I was on the phone, I asked the guy on the phone that I was talking to what time it was. And as soon as I did that, the stupid man, like, got his watch and put it in my face very close and showed me the time. And I didn't want to be rude, so I was like, oh, thank you. But I got up off of the flower bed and I walked to the other side of the payphone, kind of to tell the man, like, get away. I don't want to talk to you. Like, I wasn't talking to you. You just get away. And so that man, he just sat there for a minute or so, And when I was on the phone, I was talking to the guy on the phone, and I was telling him something. I don't remember what I was telling him, but the man that was sitting on the flower bed thought I was talking to him, and he would call me like baby and stuff, and he was like, I'm sorry baby, what did you say? And I would just shake my head and tell him, oh no, I wasn't talking to you, you know. So anyway, after a little while, this man gets up, goes back in his Bronco, and he sits there. And I want to say by this time it was already midnight, maybe 1 o'clock. And as soon as he gets back in his vehicle and he sits there, and he's looking at me, but he's not really paying attention. So on the phone, I tell the guy that I'm talking to, like, oh my God, you know, I tell him what's going on. And he's like, well, do you want me to call the cops? And I tell him no, because I'm out past curfew. They're just going to get mad at me. They said that they would give my mom a ticket if they caught me out here again. And I didn't want none of that to happen. So I was like, instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you this description of this guy. I'm going to give you the description of his vehicle, just in the event that something happens to me. I'm going to hang up, go home, and if you don't hear from me within, 15 minutes or so, call the cops and give them that information. Tell them what happened. So he was like, okay. So I gave him the description and everything, license plate, everything, as much as I could. And, luckily the man didn't hear me, anything I said. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to hang up and I'm going to start walking home. Well, the minute I hung up and I started in the direction of home, that man turned on his vehicle and he started following me. And I was like, damn, what do I do? So across the street was this other store. This other little grocery store. Not like a convenience store, but like a little retail store. And at that time, it was dark over there. They didn't have like too much lights and stuff. And this man, he sees me go toward that direction, and he pulls into that parking lot, blocks off my way, my direction, kind of, my path, gets out of his vehicle and stands there with one hand on his hip. Kind of like, his body language was kind of like telling me if I continued to walk that path, he more than likely would have grabbed me and threw me in his truck. Because it was a Bronco little SUV thing. It was an old vehicle, but it was enough to throw somebody in the back, And I was just like, crap, no. I could go behind the store, which had like a little dark alleyway, but that would have been worse. I would have been kidnapped for sure. So I turned back around. I couldn't go all the way to the Mexican restaurant because this guy was ready to hop back into his vehicle. So I said, well, maybe I go back to the little convenience store. I had a little bit of more change left. Call this guy and figure out a plan. So I went back to the little convenience store, called the guy that I was talking to, and explained to him, like, oh my God, this man's just following me around. What do I do? And then I thought, you know what? Maybe I'll wait till the man comes back in his vehicle towards the convenience store, takes his truck off, gets comfortable, and then just slam the phone down, hang up, and book it. That's what I thought, So luckily I thought of that plan, and I told the guy what I was going to do. I whispered into the phone so the man wouldn't hear me, because as soon as I started walking towards the convenience store, that man hopped back into his vehicle and parked in the parking lot of the convenience store. But only this time he stayed in his vehicle, which thank God he did. But he took the engine off, took out a newspaper, and started getting comfortable. And I thought to myself, this is my chance. If I don't take it, I'm going to get raped and heaven knows what else, So when he wasn't suspecting it, I hung up the phone, and I just told the guy, I was like, okay, I'm going to hang up and call you from my mom's house phone, and if I don't, call the police. And so he was like, fine, you better call me. So I hung up the phone, and I started brisk walking, because I didn't want him to get the idea. I didn't want him to see me like running, because then he would have, I don't know, like turned on his vehicle real quick and sped off in my direction. I don't know. So I didn't want him to see me running, but I did brisk walk, and I turned my head when I was about to walk into my street. And as soon as I did that, he quickly like put his newspaper down and figured out what was going on. And he was, you know, looking at me like, oh my God, she's taking off, whatever. Started his vehicle up. As soon as I heard him start his vehicle up, I was already at the corner of my street about to go into the street. Actually, there's 2 different streets to get to my house. It's kind of confusing. My street intersects with another street. So it was pretty difficult to get to my mom's house. But anyway, I knew he wasn't going to be able to find me once I got into that street. I would be safe. So as soon as he turned his vehicle on, I ran. I ran into the street. He did see which street I went into, and I'm sure at that point he did see me run. But I didn't care because I was already, you know, into the street. Or I should say into my street. And so yeah, he took off, started his vehicle, and I went into this alleyway that's behind my mom's house. And that alleyway is not dark. It's usually lit up. But it's the quickest little shortcut to my mom's house. And so I ran in there, ran in my mom's house. I don't know why, but I took off the front porch light and I went into the bathroom window. And I didn't have that restroom light on either, thank God. And I peeked through the window and I was scared. That was probably one of my most scariest moments in my whole life, I think you would call it. I don't know how to say that. But it was just a very scary moment, very traumatizing. And I was peeking through the window, and sure enough, this man, he was going up and down the street very slowly, desperately looking for me on the sidewalks. And he did that about 4 times, up and down. And I was just amazed. And I was like, wow. And when I got home, that's when I was like, man, I should have called the cops. Who cares about the curfew? I was almost just kidnapped. I could have got raped. This man, you know, who knows if he's going to do it to somebody else? And, you know, what the heck? But I didn't call the cops at the time. It's a regret that I've always had and I always will carry with me. And God forbid this man has hurt anybody else after that. He didn't hurt me, but God forbid he did that to somebody else, you know. I pray that he didn't. Because it would partly be my fault. I didn't report it, you know. Anyway, but yeah, that was the time that I almost got kidnapped. It was horrible. And have I seen this man again? Yes, I have. Very recently. I want to say I saw him. I ran into him. Probably like a few months ago. And I know I never forgot his vehicle. I never forgot what he looked like. And in fact, when I see vehicles that look just like his, it gives me the chills. It freaks me out. And I did notice his vehicle in the parking lot, but when I went inside of the store, in that very same area where he almost kidnapped me years before, he looked at me. We passed by each other inside of the store, and it didn't dawn on me because I was just thinking about stuff that I needed from the store. I wasn't really thinking about anything else. And mind you, I hadn't seen this man in years. His appearance has changed drastically, and now that I'm adult, I'm actually taller than him. He's not so big looking anymore. So scary. But yeah, I passed by him. He looked at me and he smiled just to be nice, I think. I don't really think he remembered who I am. And I did a double take. And I was like, oh my God, there's the man that almost kidnapped me. And I felt disgusted and angry. And I thought, man, now that I'm older, I wish he would try to kidnap me now, because I would punch him in the face. I'm an adult. I'm stronger. And he's just this old, short, stumpy, fat man, and I could take him out. But anyway, yeah, like I said, that's my whole story of, you know, when I almost got kidnapped. And I hope I didn't bore anybody. But yeah, that's pretty much my story, and I hope y'all enjoyed it. Subscribe and let me know if y'all liked it and y'all want to hear more stories to come. And by the way, yes, this is a true story. This really did happen. So yeah, I'm sorry that the video is so long, but like I said, I hope I didn't bore anyone.